So, welcome, everybody. Welcome, Magical Souls, to another podcast. And our guest speaker today is the lovely Trish Diez, and she is going to be talking to us today about her new book called What in the Narcissistic Hell Was I Thinking? And I love that title. And as a survivor of a narcissist myself, the subject is very close to me, and I understand the subject very well. But I'm really fascinated to hear all about your book. So over to you, Trish. Tell us all about yourself.
Oh, thank you so much, Catherine, and hello, everybody. Thank you for having me, Catherine. Well, I'm Australian. I left Australia 37 years ago and I went to live in the UK and then France and then Dubai, and now I'm back in France. And like many, I grew up in a home where violence was a hidden constant. While outwardly everything looked polished and respectable, it was really quite interesting behind closed doors. I never questioned it. I didn't know anything different. It wasn't until I held my own children close to me that I finally saw how deeply painful my childhood had been, and how could you possibly ever do those things to a child. And so my life turned around, and the peace that I wanted for my children showed me very clearly the chaos that I had experienced as normal, and how profoundly that had shaped me. So as I grew older, I didn't escape it completely. I did repeat it in my relationships. I subconsciously walked straight into relationships that mirrored my past, making mistaking control really for care and pain for love. But with my children, something huge cracked open and I broke that chain, at least on the outside. I gave them safety and presence and love. But on the inside, I was still being led by the same frightening beliefs, the same limiting, uh, pain filled beliefs that I was unworthy, that I had to earn through sacrifice. I had to earn love through sacrifice, that my worth depended on keeping others happy and okay, that I needed others to be okay before I could be okay, um, that I didn't belong. These beliefs that were very, very powerful and very deeply hidden. So, since I've always been interested in psychology of people and of myself, I studied later in life with small children and a full time job, and became a psychologist, and also continued on to become a life coach. But I actually call myself a belief coach. I don't do the show up tomorrow, show me how well you're doing, go again, do again. I don't do that sort of coaching. I purely question beliefs and I let the client find their own truth, which in my experience is like watching a flower open in front of me. Um, so it wasn't until the pain of my patterns became just too unbearable that I broke open and I worked on all of my limiting beliefs that were holding me back in my past and preventing me from just being aware of the reality of the moment, the real situation, rather than the stories I was telling myself. So not only did I work on those beliefs, but I also trained on energy work, such as the emotion code. And of course, I've called in my tribe, my wonderful tribe, such as people like you, Catherine, who've helped me work on energy and past lives and so much more. So I took a good look at how I constructed my identity from all angles so that I could deconstruct that identity and rebuild myself. And I did it pretty much despite myself. I didn't even plan it. It wasn't a goal. It was just the path I was all of a sudden on. Um, so I then take that to my clients. All of my experiences that I've had come into my work. So, because if I can find that, excuse me, if I can find that, I know that others can find it. So I just guide them, and if they're not ready, that's okay. We won't go in that direction. But if I just shine the flashlight and see what they see, then it's quite life changing sometimes. So yeah, that's and so I'm now, excuse me, living in France with close to my eldest daughter and my granddaughter, and my youngest daughter, who's 28, lives in Paris. So I'm back here in family, which is great.
Wow, that is so amazing. I have been nodding along to everything you've been saying because I just couldn't agree more with what you've said. And I do know that it's magical when a healer such as yourself heals yourself first, and then you go on to heal others because you've been down that road and you can identify, you can have empathy with the person in front of you because it happened to you as well.
Yeah.
I find those are the best healers. So sometimes the record keepers and guides often tell me that people chose this life on purpose so that they would know what was wrong, what was off balance, and they'd have to fix it for themselves before going on to fix it for others. So that is,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because also from this place where I'm now at, which I'm not suggesting in any way is the job's done, because I don't know. I'm just excited. Yesterday I woke up and said to my beautiful cat, Billy Bob, who's like my soul guide, said to him, "Oh, it's Thursday. How exciting!" Because I just don't know what's coming, and I'm delighted to see what is coming and and there's always something coming, even if it's just a beautiful day. It doesn't have to be something that marks history and time, but
yeah,
or time in history rather. But yeah, I would never have believed that I would arrive where I am. I would never have believed it.
so
I cannot believe it. I'm still like gobshocked.
exciting.
And, as we said before we started the recording, I'm not going to poo-poo it. I'm just sort of like sitting in awe. Like, can it really get any better? And that's quite incredible for me, who's been a victim for a good 58 years, 57 years, and now I'm 60, going to be 61, and it's done. That costume's off, that cloak is off.
I totally understand that. I have to say that since I left the narcissist that I got connected to, I also feel like the way I describe it is every day is 1,000 times better than the day before. And I know that's not physically possible, but it just feels that's what it is. You know,
Mm.
when you leave that life, that nightmare, then
Mm.
all of a sudden everything is amazing. It's truly,
Oh, absolutely. And I was able to identify that it had been a part of my life for my whole life. That's
yes,
actually how you can
yes.
walk into it,
That's
because
how I got into it. Yes.
yeah, I'm the fish in water and the water hasn't changed. So, of course I grew up with the belief systems about myself through that. That's the trick. That's the trick.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's not, they may be doing their stuff, but what does that mean about me?
Yes.
And that's where life can change. Does it really have anything to do with me at all? And
Yes, I can identify with that. I had a difficult situation with an alcoholic father. He was very unhappy that he had a girl child. This was like the worst thing that could have ever happened to him. And he let me know it every day and things like that. And now that I've worked through the process, I can understand what was going on. And that was also why I would have met a partner, a narcissistic partner in the first place
mm,
because of that upbringing, because of that childhood trauma that we go through. So I totally understand
mm.
your journey. Obviously, I'm not saying we are different people, and you've had other things to deal with as well. But I can understand some segment of what you've been through.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure.
Yeah. So tell us all about the book. I can't wait to hear all about this book.
Well, the book discusses my experience as a child in a violent household,
Okay.
and how that formed my beliefs about me and others, and how I took that into my adult relationships, ending in the all-time most difficult relationship with a narcissistic partner and his children.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm not sure my mother is a narcissist. I think she's just, I think she has a mental health condition. Um, I think she had uh, a lot of rage, a lot of anger, a lot of violence, but I don't, and she could be borderline psychopathic because, in fact, according to Professor Sam Vatanen, who is the true only source of what real narcissism is. He's the founder of Malignant Self-Love that he wrote in the 80s. It's been edited over 10 times now since it's been written. He's the founder of all of the terminology we use in narcissism, all of it. The gray grey walling or something like that, grey rock, stone walling, gaslighting, love bombing, all of that. He's the one who put terminology to it all. He's really my source, and he says that what we used to believe was a grotesque narcissist, being the one who's very violent and loud and dangerous and all the rest of it, actually is psychopathy. It's psychopathic, whereas the only real narcissist is the covert, malignant narcissist, which is exactly who I was born to and who I ended up marrying. To my ex-husband is 6'2". They both enjoy golf. I mean, yeah, it just goes on and on and on. So um, I really needed to end up there. And so the book was birthed out of that very painful experience, because in the book, my intention is to share the details of each relationship from my childhood onwards, because the devil is actually in the details. It's not in the big things a lot of the time. It's in the looks, the glances, the tone, the pace of the steps, the way things are put on the table, the way a door is opened, the messages that we're receiving constantly. That's the energy in the room. It's quite palpable, so that many others who may be reading it can think about their own situations and relationships and beliefs about themselves, and wonder, well, that could be what I'm actually involved in. I didn't see it like that, because when I was told he was a vulnerable narcissist by a very, very dear friend of mine who's a psychologist in Australia, and I've known her for years, and she's met him 10 years earlier in a session, and she said to me, he is a vulnerable narcissist, and I only have one more thing to say, and that is run.
Mm.
And she said, you're going to lose yourself. You're going to entirely lose yourself. And it's only going to get worse. So um, I really wanted to write the book about that experience, because once I mean, it was like being the mouse with the cat. The mouse who sort of got pushed around and rolled around and wasn't dead, but pretty much not doing too well, and who'd fake death to survive the night or whatever. And then the mouse would come back to life and everything would be okay, and then the cat would get the mouse again. But when I left, that cat wanted to destroy that mouse. That was the difference. That's when real narcissism showed itself. Because up until then, he thought he had longevity in this, that this was going to go on for years. But when I literally walked out the door, and he thought, he must have energetically felt she means it,
Yeah.
because not only did I take my stuff and my cat, but people change their minds. He's a very strong manipulator. So and I was energetically tied in many ways. I'd truly fallen into that familiar belief system of, he loves me, he's the only one who will love me. I'm not. And the incredible thing about narcissism that I've learned, because I'm no specialist in narcissism at all, I don't claim to be. However, I can speak very expertly of my experience. And so what I've learned through my experience is narcissists will there are two aspects to it. Well, there are many, but what they do is, for a man to a woman, particularly, the male narcissist will put you on a pedestal like the adored, idealized mother. And the female, needing to be obviously codependent, because you treat me badly, I'm only going to love you more to get that love. I'm only going to do more to get that love. I'm only going to keep coming. It's like that doll that you can push down and boom, up she comes again.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm going to love you more. What else can I do? Let me try more. Let me do more. Let me effort more. So that was my role in this scenario. And that's the only way it could ever have worked. So he idolized me, put me on a pedestal. And for the first time, I felt adored and idealized. And I thought, oh my God, this is just so good. How could I ever give this up? So, of course, you give up the gym, you give up your friends, you give up your family, because this is what you need. This is it. And it becomes your drug. All codependents need a drug of some sort. And he became my drug. His presence became my drug. And you'll do anything to stay with that. So there I am on the pedestal. But guess what little teenage boys do? They come home, they kiss mum on the cheek, and they go out and play. And that's exactly what he was doing. He was coming home, keeping the peace, being this guy. And then he had a Tinder account, booty calls, women online, women on his phone, emails, the lot. The lot was going on for the whole of the marriage. And I didn't know that until the very, very end. So you can imagine it was honestly like the tower and the tarot cards just coming banging down on me, But thank God, thank God. So what happens in that scenario with the idealized mother is the the woman, me, I integrate that as the mother because now I'm teaching him ludicrously, looking back on it, but teaching him about life and about the world. I felt like I was showing this man life. He was calling me his oracle. He was calling me the wisest woman in the world. He was calling me the sage, you are just incredible. I talk about you all day, blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, he really needs me. He said, I've never tasted an avocado till you came into my life. I didn't know what this meant. I didn't know what that meant. Tell me what you mean. They fake dumbness or stupidity, whatever Sam Vaknin calls it that. That's a bit harsh, I know, but that's what the attitude is. Teach me, give me, just to get you more and more addicted to that role of only I can offer this. Only I can provide this. So you're really integrated. I've really integrated by now this mother who's taking care of this very precious child who's prepared to put up with the ups and downs and all the rest of it, not knowing, of course, what the little boy's doing when he leaves the house. That's the whole scenario. And so, guess what the mother can't do? She can't abandon her child. So, she doesn't know how to walk away. So, it's this very, very insidious, energetic loop that we get ourselves in. So, as I was in that, thinking, how can I leave him, even when I was miserable? And let's not forget, or not that you can forget because you don't know, but we're not forgetting to mention he had two children living with him, one in the UK and two in Dubai, who were torturing me. And he was just sitting by watching, and I was waiting for him to step up. And he left it all to me and to his daughter, particularly, to sort it out. So we would be constantly in conflict because she couldn't stand me in his life. So I had her, the perfect triangulation. He would tell her something and then me something. He would tell him something and then me something. He'd tell me something and then them something. It was just, my mind was no longer mine. It was just hideous. So when it came time to leaving, I didn't even know if I had the strength to walk out the door, but I thought if I don't go out that door, I'm dead. I'm dead. And so the kids, I call them, his son was living in the house and his daughter wasn't any longer, but nevertheless, they were always around. And that was also part of the story, which is in the book. But when I did want to leave and go, that's when the spiritual warfare hit. That's when something that I had never experienced in my life hit. And that's another thing that I really want to bring out in the book, that the unseen then took over. And I couldn't explain it to anyone. I couldn't explain it to anyone. And so my suggestion to people in my client sessions is, if you need a lawyer, make sure they have experience with narcissists. Because if not, they're going to say you're being unfair, you're being unkind, he deserves this, he deserves. You need to just cut it off, get whatever the lawyer is going to get for you. Don't even speak to the partner. Make sure the lawyer is the intermediate, and warn the lawyer that he will be manipulated or she will be manipulated or tried to. So my experience when I left was honestly like I had got out of a car accident and I couldn't walk. I was on my all fours crawling to the bathroom, and all I could hear was freedom, 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 freedom. Don't look back. Don't look back. And I was just going from my bathroom to my bedroom, but I knew exactly what I was doing, who I was talking to. I didn't know anything about anything. I contacted you for the first time in this experience. I didn't know about entities. I didn't know about anything, nothing. And here I was, absolutely the Ten of Swords, with all of the swords and knives in my back on the ground, bleeding out. And then I thought, hang on a minute. I can see a little bit of light. There's a little bit of light on the floor. That must be me. So I trusted it. And yeah, my book is really about how you get into it, because anybody can find themselves in a narcissistic relationship. But
Yeah.
those who have had a healthier childhood will smell it and leave.
Mhm.
But those who have had narcissism in their lives will think, oh, this feels familiar. I know what this is. Oh yeah,
Mhm.
that's right. I've got to earn his love. Oh yeah, that's right. I've got to show up. So it shows us how we sleepwalk into our relationships, how we get into these relationships, and then how the hell to get out of these relationships. And then what to do about it, because the healing isn't over just because you're out. You've got healing, serious healing. I mean, we've had sessions, you and I, where Archangel Michael placed this beautiful big mirror right down in the earth because his energy was so strong trying to get to me. And he was trying to go around the mirror and
Yeah.
trying to dig under the mirror.
Mhm.
I mean, and you mentioned to me, I've never seen anything like it. Well, either had I. But I could feel it happening, and I could feel my energy around me being, you know, at, there was attempts all the time. And it wasn't just him, it was her and him, but they came together. She is a psychopath. She's not a grotesque narcissist, she's psychopathic.
Gosh.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I came close. I really came close. And I only found that through my spiritual healing, actually. So that's something that I can't even bring up to her,
Mhm.
but, or to anyone really, in
You
an
don't have any
evidence,
physical proof,
in
so.
evidence-based, yeah. But I'm not surprised. And
Mhm.
so it really was quite astounding that I got out alive. And from that bubble of time, once I left, that was the kicker. Once you leave, that's why I've also suggested that you never, ever, ever let a narcissist know you're leaving.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I didn't either. I had to.
Never, never, never
Yeah.
give them a sign that you're leaving. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember I had the apartment was ready and I was moving stuff over little by little. And one night he changed a lot in the last month. He could smell a rat, so he thought I better start doing stuff and being more helpful and present and all the rest of it. So he took in some laundry and he was putting in some clothes of mine into my drawers. And he said, "Where are all your clothes?" And I
Mhm.
said, "Oh, I've lost so much weight. I've decided to throw them out. I'm going to buy new ones."
Wow.
And
Good thinking.
they're all in the apartment.
Oh, well done for thinking on the spot. That is
But I mean,
incredible.
yeah, and then my all my wardrobes were empty. He didn't even open my wardrobes. He didn't even have my children's names in his phone after 12 years.
Yeah, so no,
He
no.
didn't know how to contact my parents if ever I died in Dubai or something. So, I got out alive and I continued to live, and it's taken me, this is now my third year but I've been so good. I've been feeling so wonderful for the past probably 7 or 8 months, a real shift, 9 months maybe, a real shift. But up until then, it was a progressive, better, 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 you know. So
Amazing.
my book is actually, it was my calling, and
Yeah.
it's clearly a soul mission, uh,
Yes.
and a vocation. It feels like a vocation. And if only one person gets anything out of it, it's been worth it. It's also been very cathartic to
Yeah.
speak up and actually,
Yes. Absolutely. I know exactly what you mean. A couple of things. I've been making some notes while you were talking. One of the things that I noticed when I was in that relationship is I'd felt like I was on a conveyor belt, just going and like I couldn't get off, and I was just heading towards this explosion via. And for some reason, I just couldn't get off, and it was like I was held there by an invisible force. So I remember that, and I also remember thinking, what is actually going on in the underlying things. So there was that, and I also remember trying to find a book to read while I was in that situation, and I couldn't. The one book I found was actually trying to convince me to stay in the narcissist. I know, like we need to do forgiveness and all this.
oh,
I know. So luckily, a huge part of myself just did not agree with that
yeah,
book, because and just kept looking for ways to get out. But like you, I left. I waited for him to go to work, packed the last bits of my stuff, and moved. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And
Well, I I know exactly how that feels. I moved in front of him. I left in front of him, but I prepared
Mm.
without him knowing because I
Oh,
wasn't going to do all of that work, all of that move with him around. I just wanted to literally pack my last suitcase, get the cat and go.
yeah.
But the image of myself as I was in the apartment that I went to with a friend, my friend and I were living together in our family home, if you like, because from COVID onwards, she didn't want to take her own apartment in Dubai. It's extremely expensive, so she just took a room in our house. And she and I planned together to move together. So she'd already gone, and the apartment was being set up, which was very good for me because I was struggling with the final move. I was struggling with the final decision to go. So I was very grateful that I didn't have to do all that very emotional getting your electricity signed up, getting your Wi-Fi signed up, all those really big steps. It was very difficult. It was like going to rehab, finally going to rehab. Are you really ready? That sort of thing. And but the interesting thing was um, when I moved into the apartment, and the vision I have of myself is like one of those beautiful birds in an oil slick on the beach,
Mhm.
just cannot move with this horrible black sludge all over it, and probably going to die there if someone doesn't come
Yes.
help.
Yeah.
And so I was working on myself, doing whatever I possibly could, and just trying to get from day to day.
Mhm.
And she was there. I'd known her for 16 years. And eventually, a conversation I had with her one day, I said, I think I'm losing my mind. I was shaking, I was crying. I hadn't spent a lot of time with her because energetically I couldn't do that. There was something stopping me from being able to speak to her and open up to her. I just didn't feel safe for some reason after having known her for so long. But I eventually one day had to do something, had to say something to someone because I was really suffering. So I went over to the sofa and said, I feel so lost. I feel like I'm going crazy. I don't know how I'm going to get any better, and I don't know what to do. I don't know if I need meds, and it was really tough. And she said, "It's tough at 60 to be dating. Have you really thought this through?"
Oh, I'm so surprised.
And I
That's
said, dating? Did someone mention dating? You know, I said, and talk about projection, And I
Mm.
said, I have no intention of dating, and I'm trying to save myself here, save my life. And then she started to talk me back into, well, you've known him for a long time and you could talk it through. And I thought, okay, I've got to get out of this apartment.
Absolutely. You run. Run.
So I spent a few months working that out, and then I got my own apartment, and I don't speak to her anymore because
Mm.
something changed. I realized, oh, and in that space of time, whenever because I really energetically, again, could not open up to her. Couldn't. I did it once, and that was it. But even before and after that, I just couldn't. I didn't want anything else to do with her. But I was living with her. She was a friend, so I had to be civil and. But she could feel it. She could feel the withdrawal. And one time I went into the kitchen, and she said, "Your energy's like this," and I thought, "Whose energy's like that?"
Yeah.
And then so I just avoided her all the time, trying to get through the day. I've just left a relationship after 12 years. Well, I was married for 30 years and I left, and I thought, oh, I can't be here. I just can't be here. And so one day she had a panic attack to get me back into being her supply or her support. So I was dealing with people in my whole life, very similar energy of this take, take, take. And I didn't see it until this cracked me open. So she went, he went, you know. Um, so it was really quite extraordinary, really. And I think that my motivation was purely to not try and prevent people from going into it because maybe that's their path. And I actually laughed the other day and said, I think we all need a little bit of narcissism in our lives to find ourselves, to really realize what we're doing to ourselves, to break that codependence and to break that belief system that says, I'm here to serve you and only you, and I will do what is needed. I'll sacrifice myself. Um, but my intention of the book is not to necessarily take people off their path, but just to give them something to think about. That's all. It's an inside job. So I just wanted to, maybe tick a few little boxes for them without going through the whole. It's not about, I don't write about him so
No.
much. It's more about how I was feeling.
Yes. No, I think that's going to be very helpful for people who are in that situation, having been there myself. I was reaching out looking for help and I couldn't find any.
Mm.
So yeah, that is very interesting. I think that is going to be very, very helpful because we can get caught up in. There's another way of looking at this. I talk about star seeds all the time, which are people that have maybe had incarnations on other planets and they've brought their beautiful gifts and tools to this plane, this earth plane, to use them here as healers and that sort of thing. And I notice a pattern among the star seeds is that they tend to be very gentle, soft-spoken, and they can often uh, defer decisions to other people as well, because where we come from in those other places there is unconditional love there and everybody treats each other very well. So then when we come here, we can be very confused as to why people aren't treating us well. And we also tend to trust people. So we trust the narcissists, we trust that their decision is better than ours. And that couldn't be further from the truth. We, each of us, each being in the physical, has to take ownership of their own self, of their own decisions, of their own everything. And, like you said earlier, perhaps a narcissist will show up and show you that actually that's the wrong way. When you can't bear dealing with their drama anymore, you must turn inwards and look to yourself to fix everything and stop giving your power away to them. So yeah, I would agree with that 100%.
And also, I think my experience, yes, I do also agree with that, but my experience from this relationship, leaving this relationship, was so totally different to any other relationship I'd had
Hmm.
that I knew it couldn't have been just him.
Hmm.
It
Okay.
couldn't have been just him and his daughter because it was too big. The effect that it had on me was too big.
Yeah.
That's not, for me, it wasn't possible that it could be just them. And
Yeah.
so that's what made me think, okay, I really have to dig deep here. I have to find out what I've been doing to myself, how I got here, what
Mhm.
led me here, so that I never, ever, ever do this again to myself.
Yeah.
And that's when I found the depth of my childhood experience. I'd worked on it. I'd seen psychologists. I've done all that. I've done my own work. I've studied psychology. I've done, but no, no, no. This took me to the deeper levels,
Mhm.
the real core issues. And I'm very grateful for that. And it took me to past lives.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just him. He was this beautiful offering, if you like, for me to burst open finally. And we can look at it that way, or we can die and suffer from it. Um, but I chose not to. I chose not to. I thought, no, I'm not dead yet. So I'm going to work this out. And the narcissistic energy, I truly believe, is everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
just we only have to look at what's going on in the world. So there's like this dark cloud or dark energy around us that if we decide to offer ourselves to it, then they'll take it. But
Absolutely.
but if we don't, they can't.
Absolutely. The record keepers and guides tell me all the time, tell my clients all the time that no one's coming to save you. You have to save yourself. And not only that, you are more than capable of saving yourself. You just have to believe it.
Yes. I mean, my podcast is called If I Can Do It, So Can You, because trust me, me, little old victim Trish, who's been waiting for the world to save her, can do it. Anyone can do it. And yet I have a package and a presentation of, oh, I've got this. I'm a I'm a smart chick. I know my stuff. No, no, no. Not true. I was really, slapped in the face by the truth of the matter, and that was I had these underlying beliefs keeping me trapped and keeping me fixated and addicted. There's nothing quite like the addiction to this energy that we believe has all of our needs met. But none of my needs were being met, not in my childhood and not in my marriage. So it was quite interesting. I've reached out to Sam Vaknin to ask him, um, is it possible to just leave a narcissistic relationship unscathed? And he doesn't write back to you personally. He sends you 100,000 links of different videos and things to watch. So of course I've got to cipher through and see what he says about that, because I don't know anyone who's left a narcissistic relationship without bruise, without
Oh,
pain.
yeah, absolutely. Agreed. Yes.
Yeah.
When I left, I did decide to fast track my healing, though, because I wanted to do it in a spiritual way. Because you can do years and years of therapy and things like that, but that just felt like the narcissist
Oh,
was winning again. So
yeah.
I put myself in a situation where I fast-tracked the healing, and it was uncomfortable. But it was, the light was, you talk about that little light that you saw. I could see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I wanted that light with every part of my heart. And I aimed for it and I went for it. So I do totally understand. But yeah, definitely not unscathed. And the one thing that we've kind of touched on earlier is about dark entities themselves and how they work through certain types of people. So we know that they work through alcoholics, they work through people that take drugs, they work through, I would say, narcissistic people. That's a bit of a broad statement to say, but I would say that I've seen it, and a lot of the narcissists do. Um, what they would do is they have behavior patterns that allow for entities to come into them as well. And the narcissists tend to quite like that the dark ones are working through them, and then they open more to the dark ones so that the dark ones have more of a hold over them because they quite like seeing the results, the end results of the dark ones, working through them. So we are also, like you say, having to do spiritual warfare because it's not just about the person in front of you, it's
Mm-mm.
about who they are allowing to work through them and hurt you.
And
And yeah, and the
and
dark ones, yeah.
go on. Sorry.
Sorry. The dark ones are like the angels. They can hear your thoughts. So they know what would upset you the most. They do
Mm,
know what will hurt you the most, and they work on that.
mm,
There's also the prophecy amongst the Dark Ones that a woman will lead Mother Earth through into 5D. So they have been suppressing women for a long time, centuries,
mm,
making sure that they overdo it. And then also, yeah, so they've been doing that. And I do want to also just talk about if a spiritual woman meets a spiritual man and they join forces, then we have something called a power couple as well that the Dark Ones don't take kindly to at all. They would really interfere with that couple tremendously and bring about different demonic energies into the relationship and things. And I've had a lot of Akashic Record Keeper clients come to me and they are so confused. Is this in their own head or not? And I can guarantee you that humans are born in the light of God. We are naturally able to channel good energy. We don't have naturally dark thoughts. That's not
mm,
who we are. The dark ones bring the dark thoughts, and then we channel them if we choose to. And it's very easy, unfortunately, to get caught up in channeling the dark energy if we allow worry, fear, anxiety, grief, shame, all these things into our lives, and we repeat them regularly. We can actually draw more and more dark energies into ourselves and uh, someone like yourself, Trish, you could see that that was wrong and you didn't channel the dark ones. You only wanted to channel the light. You could feel the difference. You could feel the distinction. But a lot of the narcissists don't even know that they are a gateway for the dark ones to work through them.
mm,
And that's why I have 100% forgiven my father for everything that he did because I know as an alcoholic, he was creating tears in his aura every time he took alcohol, and
mm,
dark entities were coming in and manipulating him, and he
mm,
was just a puppet.
mm,
As a young child, I didn't know that. I just felt the wrath, and it
mm,
was very uncomfortable for me. But I have forgiven him 100%.
mm,
But
mm,
not all narcissists need to be forgiven because some of them are still very much operating dark energies, and they are allowing the dark ones to uh, destroy things, cause chaos, disruption, all those sorts of things. And the other thing I do want to say, when I say I forgave my father 100%, I never actually did to his face forgive him because he would have felt that very uncomfortable. He probably wouldn't have even remembered half the stuff that happened
Mm.
when he was under the influence. So, but what I did do is I did the forgiveness work for myself. And surprisingly, now that he's a little bit older, he actually has changed from that forgiveness, energetic forgiveness. Never ever spoken a word to him about any of this. I would never. But the energy has changed. Our relationship has fixed now, which is
Mm.
great. But I also had to fix myself first,
Mm.
forgive myself for falling prey to this, forgive myself and fix all those belief systems like you've talked about today before I could forgive him. And then he could now come to, and my mum says to me the only time he relaxes now is when he comes and stays on holiday in my house.
Mm.
This is just so weird. How does this happen? Energy. That's how it
Mm.
happens. It's
Yeah,
magic. Isn't it magical?
yeah.
And and even the last time he visited, he was freaking me out a bit because he was showing interest in stuff that I was doing. He was standing next to me, watching me do things, and I was just like having to push that fear inside of myself down and just allow him to be there because for the first time, we're having a healthy relationship. So that was great. But he does drink a lot less now that he's older, so that's good.
Mm.
But anyway, so I had to just push my fears aside and allow this strange behavior to be happening and things like that. But I think that's what is so interesting about the subject because I happen to have a happy ending with my father. But I have forgiven the narcissist that I left, but I have never invited him back into my world ever. And
No.
one other thing I was just making a note of while you were speaking is when we do leave the narcissist, obviously they go completely crazy. And, and but the interesting thing is, one of the things that I was speaking to somebody about was that a lot of bullies or narcissists are actually cowards. So if you do stand your ground, don't if they do phone you or whatever and start trying to give you, just keep hanging up on them until they get the message, and that will drive them crazy, but not your problem anymore.
Mm.
Definitely don't tell them where you've moved to. Definitely. I
Yeah,
made sure
yeah,
that he didn't know where I was.
yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah,
very,
I totally I'm on board with all of that. I can resonate with all of that. And I've forgiven him. I've forgiven him because he's out of my energy and he's also out of my life. I don't know if I could have I couldn't forgive him until now because he's no longer a threat, right? He's not likely to turn up at my door or and even if he did, I'd be ready for him. I'd be ready for him. I'd just be simply not opening the door, calling the police, and that would be it. There wouldn't even be a conversation. But the funny thing was I had to end up drawing a line because we obviously got divorced. And thankfully, the best thing about being married in Australia is you can get divorced quicker than you got married. So I was online and I got divorced very quickly, and he just received the information basically that he's now been divorced. And so there was a little bit of communication in and around that because I did ask him if he wanted to have any agency in it at all and sign a document, which he agreed to. So he signed a document and then he didn't understand what he'd signed, and it was all this drama, trying to get me back to get the paper back. But I didn't serve him. I had to have a friend serve him. But he was like, I signed under duress. I don't know what I've signed. I thought, oh, block. So, I just the only other way we could communicate was through email, which I was not bothered by because he didn't email very, very often. In the initial part, in the first 10 months or 6 or 10 months of our separation, he was constantly messaging me, constantly. And one night I sent to him a message saying, um, I've asked you several times not to contact me and you ignore my request. So I now call this harassment. And if you're going to continue to call me, I will bring in legal support. So I'm asking you now, don't call me, whatever. And I'm asking you to cease and desist, contacting me from the future, blah, blah, blah. And if only under, need to know in basis, I will be contacting you. And that's about it. 2 minutes later, my phone rings from a different number in Saudi Arabia where he was working. And I just pressed the red button and went 2 minutes. It took him 2 minutes, you know. Anyway, I blocked him everywhere. He couldn't communicate with me. And but then towards the end, after the divorce and everything, once all the paper was done and everything was finished, I wrote to him because he wrote back crazy, silly emails, you know, thank you so much for doing this for us. I just didn't have the time or energy. I divorced his sorry ass. I wasn't going to have him participate in any decision-making process. It wasn't about us. It was about me divorcing him, you know. So, so I said to him, I wrote back to him and said, okay, it's done now. I don't want to know if you're sick or well, happy or sad, lonely or married, remarried or new children. I don't want to know if you've fallen over and scraped your knee. I don't want to know if you're hungry, if you're wealthy, if you're poor. I don't want to know if you've lost your job, if you've lost your car, if your children are sick. I don't want to know anything ever again about you or your family. It is done. I said the song that was at the top of the charts when we met was Someone I Used to Know. And how about that? Full circle. And then I said, if you write, I will not reply. If you call, I will not answer. And if you see me in the street, I will change sides of the street. I will go somewhere else. So please don't bother. And uh, and I said goodbye. Within a minute, he wrote back to me. First of all, saying, thank you very much for everything you've ever given me. And then 5 minutes later, in comes the ego.
Yeah,
By the way,
yeah.
just some advice. If you ever meet anyone again, stay away from his children. You ruined everything we could have had.
Oh, it's so funny. I'm sorry to laugh because it sounds,
No, I'm laughing. I actually find the whole thing funny now because I'm in
yeah,
a totally different space. I'm
yeah.
not even angry with me primarily that I could let this happen to myself. I can see exactly how this happened. I was just believing this, you know, that I'd been born into. So why wouldn't I? I'm amazed I got out of it. I'm amazed I could get out of it and actually change this forever, you know?
It is amazing how we can get stuck in that place and then how it feels like impossible to leave. Whereas now I feel like if I leave, I just leave. I move where I move. I do what I want. It's so interesting how our brain can lock us into this padded cell
Mm.
nightmare. Um,
Yeah, there was no ball and chain. There was no lock on the door, you know.
exactly.
It was purely me, and I had to work that out because she was injured to be doing that
Mhm.
to herself. She was in pain to be doing that to herself. You know, that wasn't me. Me, I didn't even know me because I'd been born into it. My father was a covert narcissist, just like my ex-husband. So I only knew that. His facial expressions would, you know, put a burning hole in my heart because I thought he was always so sad and so needing and, you know, and there I was trying to save him, save this drowning father.
Mm.
And so what I did, and in fact, one of my moments of meditating on my belief, I need to make him happy, which is what I came up with when I was thinking of my ex. I need to make him happy. I'd landed on that, you know, I'd left him, but I was still working through it. It took me to seeing my higher self holding my 16-year-old body in a coma from the effort she made trying to make her father happy.
Yeah.
And the message I got was she's never going to do this to herself again,
Mm.
ever. This is over, you know?
Good for you.
So
Wow.
there was a lot of learning, a lot of learning.
So, what would you tell our audience now in terms of what message do you have for people um, about the subject? Can you?
Okay, so my message really is that narcissistic relationships are very, very different from other direct relationships. And due to my childhood experiences, I managed to find quite cruel partners, but they weren't narcissistic. My last husband absolutely was. So I didn't want to believe it. I
Mhm.
was told by a good friend, again, as I said, that he was, and she was a trained psychologist. So I absolutely took that as being true. My message would be to trust your friends and your family who are around you at the time, saying this guy's not right, or this doesn't sound right, or you've lost your shine, you've lost your sparkle, you're not the same as you were. Trust those people who've been around you and who've loved you for a long time. See a therapist to actually, or someone I mean, I didn't see a therapist, but I had other means. So find your way to actually build yourself up enough to get to the point where you have the strength to leave. You know, you that if you're already asking yourself what's going on, then it's time to go and check in and see if someone can frame that for you so that you're not in such a world of confusion and manipulation. And if you're confused all the time, you know you're being manipulated. So, you know, I would just say my message really is you can get out of it. You really can get out of it, but not only get out of it, but thrive, you know, really thrive. And no one gets hurt. You know, you don't have to hurt anybody to get there, you know. So it's quite amazing. I mean, my book is storytelling of the experiences. So of course that's going to ruffle feathers, and the family is going to read it and go, "Ugh," you know. But I'm telling the truth. I'm telling my truth, and I could tell it in 35 years if I'm still alive, by the way. But I could tell it, you know, again and again, and it would be the same because it's the truth. So I have no fear around that. But I really think that you have to have faith in yourself. I had faith in myself. That was the light I saw on the floor. As I lifted myself off the floor, I didn't see a shadow. I saw a light. And I thought, that's me.
Yeah,
I'm 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 not going to let this happen to me any longer.
no. Well done, Trish. Well done for getting out. And
Yeah.
well done to every person who gets out of that situation. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I have nothing but admiration for people who've gone through. And, you know, it made me feel so terribly empathetic and compassionate towards people who've gone through cancer because no one knows what they go through. You know, no one understands what they go through. All their treatment, all the fear, all the conversations with doctors, all the nausea, all the recovery, all the pain, all the anxiety around the results of tests. No one knows what that's like. And yet here we are just going, oh, well, good on you. Good, you know, it's
Yeah.
so I see you, you know, I'm just saying, I see you. I see what you've been through. And it could be narcissism. It could be ill health. It could be the loss of somebody. It could be whatever. And I know it's hard, but you can get there. If I can do it, so can you.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, and if you would like to summarize perhaps what methods or things you did to heal, because we spoke about a lot of things today. So if you would, what would you advise to people?
Yeah, I did my work. Well, I base my work on the work of Byron Katie, which is a wonderful way of breaking free of belief systems. I've also got my backing in psychology, so I called on other tools, so you'd find them in some therapists.
Mhm.
I did energy clearing, a lot of energy clearing. I did sound healing. I did acupuncture. I did Akashic record readings. I trained in Akashic records because I wanted to even access more and more of that, although, you know, still got a few glitches there, but that's my problem, no one else's. And I worked with my dragons. I was introduced to dragons, thank you to you, Catherine. My God, I love having my dragons around me. They give me such strength. I've done my mother father wounds in your beautiful workshop, which really, I was very cocky and arrogant, thinking, ah, done that. I really, really, really found that amazing. And I did it with my brother at the same time, which was hugely healing. I've done, I rested. I gave myself time to rest. You know, I stopped putting pressure on myself to be better. I should be okay by now. You know, grief, which is what it's like. It comes in peaks and troughs, and so never get in the way of the tsunami because it will push you over. You know, it'll drown you. So just let it happen. Also got in touch with what my energy feels like on its own, you know, which I'd never done because I'd always been surrounded by not great energy. So I could never tell who I was on my own. I didn't know what it was like to be in my own energy. And when you learn that, when I learned that, I now know exactly the kind of energy that's coming to me because it's changing this. So I can just go no or yeah, you know. But so I needed to know me, and that was going through all of the emotions, all of the ups and downs, taking care of myself for the first time really ever, you know. I mean, if I wasn't the young child in a very volatile situation. I was then the very lonely, abandoned abandoned teenager, young adult who very quickly got married to get out of that and find a rock. And he was a rock. He was great for me. Had two beautiful children, spent 20 years in that scenario, left that because I grew and grew and grew, and left him behind really, and went into another relationship that wasn't good for me, and then into my final relationship that really wasn't good for me. So I'd never known who I was. I was either a mother, or I was a suffering child, or I was a, complaining wife, or whatever I was, whatever, suffering somehow. So now I know who I am, and that's everything, everything.
It is so amazing, Trish. Well done. I'm just so in awe of the transformation that you've been through. Just blown my mind.
Mm,
Amazing. Well
thank you.
done.
And everyone's safe now. They don't have to worry about me,
Yeah.
kicking off, blaming them for something or shaming them. Even my ex, he's
Yeah.
safe from me. The story will be told to make the book make sense and the messages make sense. But really, I can't be more grateful to him. I'm so grateful to him and his daughter. I'm so grateful. If I didn't know narcissistic energy as well as I believe I do, I would actually reach out and thank them and give them a hug if I saw them, but I don't want to do that because I know the energy.
Yes. Yeah.
As
We
as
don't
you
need to do
say,
it in
don't
person.
need to do that, no. But I do it energetically because I really mean
Yes.
it. I
I
really
couldn't
mean
agree
it.
more with
I
that.
just send them love. I just feel love for them because truly they freed me. They freed me.
Yeah. Yeah. So that comes back to what the Akashic Record keepers and guides often say is that we choose these things. We give our parents a script to say, this is what we want to do. This is what we need you to be to awaken us and to be the catalyst to bring out the best in us. Because when we see what's so wrong on the outside, we turn around and have to fix what's on the inside. And then when we fixed what's on the inside, the outside changes magically. And then it's
Absolutely. And even as I'm writing the chapters in the book, it's bringing up, I start to feel a bit, and
yeah,
it's bringing things up. So that's great. When the more we try to avoid feeling bad, the less we can manage and clear out this energy, you know.
absolutely.
So in the beginning, I thought, oh, I don't really want to work on it today. I want to feel happy today. I think, no, let's go in. Let's do some surgery.
Let's roll our sleeves up
Yeah,
and get stuck in.
yeah.
The best way, because only you can save you. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. My knight in shining armor turned out to be me. The last place I
Yay!
looked. The
There.
last place I looked, here she was, just waiting. That beautiful higher self holding me as a
Yeah.
16-year-old self was the clue that there I was.
Yeah. You got this. You got this.
Mm,
Okay. Thank you.
mm.
Thank you so much for being our guest today, Trish. I know we've laughed a lot, but it is a very serious subject. But we are on the other side where we can laugh now, which is great. But I do want to send out my heartfelt energy to anyone who is going through this at the time. We know what it's like. It's horrendous. And remember to reach out to Trish. I'm going to put your details in the description so that people can contact you if they want to. When can they expect to buy your book?
Well, I'm thinking in the spring, in Northern Hemisphere spring, Southern Hemisphere autumn, probably around April, May, I would think.
Nice, something to look forward to. I can't
Mm,
wait. Okay, well, I hope you have a very magical rest of your day today and get another chapter done. And I wish all the best to our audience as well. I hope they have a very magical day and a very expansive one.
thank you.
Well, take care, everyone.
Thank you.